Subscribe Squad, it is another day, it is another dollar. It's time for another freaking interview. And this time, today, we're going to be talking to a very talented, you know what I'm saying? You know, you might have seen him here and there and whatnot. Matter of fact, I'm going to let him introduce himself. Go ahead, tell the people your name, everything.
Man, it's your boy Young Trap, man. Memphis, Tennessee's on. Let's get it. What's poppin'?
Hey, Memphis, huh? All right. All right, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But what I always start off by asking people is like, when did you fall in love with music?
Man, I was a little kid. I started like trying to sing when I was a little kid. And then when my voice changed and puberty hit, it was over.
At puberty, it did you wrong.
Man, I tried it. So, I was like writing songs and poetry in like middle school and shit like that. And I just kept it going. And I put out 2 albums in high school and never stopped.
Okay, all right. So you started off as a youngin'. So at what point did you be like, okay, I know that I'm going to make it in this. Not only is this something that I want to do as a profession, but this is something that I know I'm going to be successful at. Did you have like an early sign with a song that connected people, something that popped off?
You know what? I felt like that because everything around me was happening so well. Like, I started out in a group called The Riders, and I ended up shining out of that group and going solo. And it was just like the fans, everybody just kept telling me every time I dropped, it was crazy. It was crazy. And my rap name used to be Raw when I first started out, because that's the adjective that they used every time they heard me rap. They're like, nigga, you raw, man, you raw, bro. And they started calling me that, and they kind of picked up in the hood in Memphis. And one of my best friends, Drummer Boy, ended up being a platinum producer right out of my neighborhood. And it's just like, man, this shit gonna work. It's meant to.
The irony is that we got a Drummer Boy interview right after yours, so I didn't even know that.
You know what I'm saying? He got the new single with Derez Deshaun. Shout out to him, Drummer Boy. We'll get it.
That's crazy, small world. You know, growing up in Memphis, what was that like, and how did it influence you, your music, your sound, and just maybe even just as a man, like how did it influence you?
Memphis real rough, you know what I'm saying? So, it's just like, man, you come out of the thing a hustler. My mom was, in and out the streets. I never met my daddy. So, it was really like the homies in the community. We raised each other. And, we was just in the streets. The music, we had 8-Ball, MJG, 3-6 Mafia, Yo Gotti, you know what I'm saying? It was just like, either it was fight music or pimp music. You know what I'm saying? And it was just like, it created a very hostile environment for us. So, for you get a little older, shit, everywhere else seems easier once you leave the city because you came from that. So everything else is a piece of cake.
Okay. Yeah, I hear that. Sometimes, having that rough start in the beginning is actually ends up being a preparation for what it is that you need to do, whether it's in business, music, life, family, or whatever. It's like, you overcome those obstacles and here you are now. All right. So talk about this, this trap lifestyle, you know what I'm saying? Like, because what I find to be, and we'll segue to something else, right? But I find it to be interesting because, I haven't experienced that lifestyle. Like, I grew up in a complete opposite situation. Like, I grew up in the suburbs. Both of my parents, though, they were from the hood, right? And so, they ended up, going off to school and then starting their own business. And their whole thing was, to create a better life for me and my siblings. So we experienced that better life of growing up in the suburbs, playing sports. From sports, I went to music. And I ain't never been arrested. Hopefully I never, you know what I'm saying, get arrested. Like, it's just different. But at the same time, I feel blessed in the sense that I do have a family who comes from those humble beginnings. So, I have some type of a connection to it. But I find it to be interesting. Some people say that trap music glorifies it, right? Other people say that it's just storytelling. So I want to know, like, what is your perspective about trap music, being in the trap, like just in general, the culture?
Right. For me, it's my story. Like I just told you, we ain't really had no parents. None of me and my homies, none of us had a daddy. So, we did start out hustling in the streets, and selling dope was like the only thing we could do to get money before we was old enough to get a job. you know, and then once you got a job and we kept hustling because you already had clientele built up, and it's just like, nah, it's a way of life. So it's just, it's a bad thing that gets started, you know what I'm saying? And it just spirals out of control. Now for people, a lot of these rappers haven't really sold drugs and then have to come from those environments, and they rapping that trap talk, but they not living like that. And you know what I'm saying? They get in some trouble and telling on you, as you can see what's happening in the media right now. You got these guys that pretend this lifestyle because they didn't have to be a part of it. And then once it backfires, they point fingers. So you got a lot of different scenarios going on, but you know, salute to the real guys who had to do this and one didn't want to and want to be out of it. You know what I'm saying?
And I find that to be, you know, interesting in the sense of there really are a lot of people who claim to do these things and are not about that life. I have no business saying that I'm not about that life because it's just not me. And at the same time, I don't have a judgment on those who are about that life. And so I find it to be, I feel like hip hop is one of those only like lanes where you could really be, it's acting in a sense. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's
no, it really is.
some of these rappers need Academy Awards for these performances that they putting on in their music.
Like they need an Emmy because their Instagram is a series of bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I can't even knock it if you know what I'm saying, because it's like if rap and the entertainment of rap is keeping you from kicking in people's door or keeping you from hurting somebody or getting hurt, man, tell your lies.
I'm here for that, but my whole thing is at the same time though, the problem is when other people who are listening, the younger listeners, they turn around and they try to mimic that, and they're looking up to these people who are not even living the lives that they're talking about. You know, it's one thing for an artist to tell, you know, stories, talk about, like you said, you're talking about your stories, talk about things that you actually went through. It's one thing for you to do that in the music. It's another thing for you to get on a track, you saying all these lies, and then you got a whole bunch of people following these lies, thinking that it's real life, and they're like, you know what, such and such did it, I'm gonna turn out and do it. And I have a problem with that. And so my whole thing, like, we're gonna talk about, you know, where the society is now, right, with everything that's going on with Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. And I feel like trap culture, you know what I'm saying, it would be great if I could see a, you know, movement in a different direction with trap culture, in the sense of, I think it's great that you tell your story, you know what I'm saying, but now that you came from that, why don't we start, you know, encouraging the youth to and start teaching them about business? Because if we really want to sit here and be honest, right, if you could figure out how to make hundreds of thousands of dollars selling drugs, you know what I'm saying, or millions, you can make that same amount of money. You apply those same principles. They don't want to say that. Those same principles to starting a legit business. And I think that if the younger generation, right, the people who feel like they have no other option but to sell drugs or trap, if we started giving them those lessons of how you could start a business, how you could start a legit hustle at the age of 16, 14, you know what I'm saying? If we transfer that, I feel like that's the next step for me when it comes to trap music. I'm like, all right, let's take this. We've told these stories, continue to tell these stories, but let's also give them something else too, like to go into.
That's true. You got to tell the kids about credit. You know what I'm saying? You got to tell them that when you walk in that bank, they pull your report card, you ain't getting $1 up out of here if you ain't kept it real.
You that part.
Your credit is, have you been financially keeping it real? So a lot of niggas ain't keeping it real in the streets, in finance, behind your back, no integrity, nothing anyway. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're a real hustler, you coming out the streets with some street money, you know, hey, start a grass cutting company or a car wash or a wing spot and get on out the street. You know what I'm saying? If you don't have the money, then that's when the credit kicks in, because you got to go ask somebody for the money. Mm-hmm. So you got to teach both parts of the game. And then as well, like, if you out here hustling, you got to tell the tell the kids the part about when you were sitting in jail too.
That part.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you can't be out here like and then nigga, you just got out of jail. Nigga, tell me about the time when you sit with all the men. You know, because it's another side to it. You know, so you know you got to be willing to live with all of them.
And I love the fact that we were able to have an honest conversation here and talk about that. So whether it's you or somebody else, I really hope that, I think it would be dope, especially because look, we're in the middle of the pandemic. Look, matter of fact, I'm giving you a gem. I'm giving you an extra hustle because what I'm saying. You make trap music, you make this hip hop music. Why won't people give like online lessons about just fundamentals? I think that might be a cool company to start, like, and make it to where that the lessons about credit or like financial literacy is fun. Incorporate hip hop in these lessons. Like, I feel like that would be dope if somebody did like that for like an online course.
I just did a single with this guy from Memphis named Mr. CEO. And
Okay.
we just dropped a video. The video is called Worsome. So it's Mr. CEO featuring Young Trap Worsome. The reason I pointed that out is because he does a segment on his Instagram called Teach a Nigga Tuesday.
Okay.
And y'all tune into my boy Mr. CEO. He teach a nigga Tuesday. He actually drops some of those gems you're talking about. He tells you the other side of the game, the other side of the trap. He talk about credit and building wealth and, just integrity and how you get out and how you treat people and shit like that's really good. He's kind of touched on the points you just made.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna check them out. See, now I done learned something from you. I got a gym from that. All right, dope. So segueing back into the music, who are some of your favorite collabs that you might have done, or just people you've worked with in general?
Yeah. My favorite collab probably would be probably the song I did with Boosie.
Okay.
We did a song called For the Hood, produced by Drama Boy. And it's just one of those ones like for the neighborhood, you just sit on your porch and reminisce and you just think about like what you used to do and the shit like that, and it just kind of like put you in this little zone. So I feel like that might have been it. Or maybe the joint I got with a long time ago, I did one with Rocco. It was just like to take me back to that moment. I just had so much fun. The record was in the club every night and on the radios, and we just dominated, and it just felt good. So probably the Rocco joint or the Boosie joint.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, all right. I'm rocking with that. I mean, you can't go wrong with Boosie. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't go wrong with the legends.
can't go wrong. Rocco crazy every time.
This is very true. So moving
Yeah.
forward, like, what's next for you? What you got coming up that we should look out for?
Well, I dropped the album called Betrayed in March. Go check out that Young Trap Betrayed. I dropped that in March. You got some bangers on that big, man.
Okay.
I'm finna drop a video from the album since the pandemic hit. I hadn't really been able to drop videos, so now I'm finna get back in tune. I'm finna drop this video to my single called Ops, Young Trap Ops. The video finna come out right now. I just dropped the video to Worsome with Mr. CEO. Go check that. And I'm cooking up a new album, cooking up new records. I got 150 songs sitting, but I'm still working every day, and we're gonna keep putting them out and figuring out how to put these things out. But we working, I got some other business stuff going on outside of music. I'm looking to sign somebody. Y'all reach out to me on my gram, Young Trap Music, and shoot me your best work. We're looking for talent.
Okay, all right. So I like that. You're not just rapping out here. You got the executive, what I'm saying, on.
Trying to help out a little bit in the pandemic.
Yeah, I like that. So okay, so before we go, then why don't we talk about this? Um, and me as myself as being an artist, like I've chosen to stay independent like throughout the years, and I
Right.
always like to talk about whether it's the grinds, the struggles of being independent. What do you feel like is the positives of being independent, or and the negatives, and then the same thing of your opinions about major labels?
Well, I'm gonna say that 95 of the general public has to be independent because the labels are not giving budgets to many people. So signing is at an all-time low. Um, the contracts are at an all-time low. You know what I'm saying? They want a 360 and get every piece of income because the streaming isn't making much money, so they got to figure out how else to eat on you. So it's just like to get signed is like giving up so much of your company unless you got a real partnership. And if you got a real partnership with the company, honestly, you wouldn't need them if you was that high.
That part.
So it's like all gonna end up being independent anyway because it's not gonna make sense at one point. But it's a lot of work. You got to have those relationships. You got to have those budgets. You got to have that time. It's just a lot of stuff. It's a lot of politics stuff. You're gonna have to swallow a lot of pride and turn a lot of cheeks to a lot of bullshit that people come up with. On your way on your journey through this shit. So it's really hard to be independent. But if this is what you love, man, keep hustling. And it's gonna work out for you. Keep recording. My biggest thing for artists is tell them, man, record a lot. If you record a ton of songs, you got a way better chance of having a hit record than you doing a song here and there, and then you trying to put something out and nothing works. That's because you ain't worked enough.
Hmm.
You got to have a lot of products, man. So when you keep cooking that product, something gonna work. And it's your work ethic is gonna shine through.
I couldn't have figured out a better way to end that right there. Okay, so before we go, shout out your social medias so everybody can follow you.
Man, it's your nigga Young Trap, man. You know what I'm saying? Look at me for me on Instagram, Young Trap Music. The music is with a Z. Same thing for Twitter, Young Trap Music. Snapchat, Young Trap Music. Facebook, Young Trap Music. Man, go to Spotify, Apple, Tidal, whatever you listen to music on. Check out my new album, Young Trap Betrayed, and just look for the new shit coming out, man. We rocking and rolling, baby.
All right, well, there you have it. You know what I'm saying? We had the boy Young Trap over here. We had a great conversation. We had boss talk conversation. Yeah. We had music conversation. We had some laughs too. Make sure you follow him on everything. Let me know who else you want me to interview here on the channel, and I will see you guys next time.